Have you ever felt your mind turn against you at night, replaying every mistake, every what if, until even your breath feels heavy? I've been there, smiling by day, but fighting a quiet war no one sees. The Stoics knew this battle well. They learned to calm the storm from within. Stay with me, and you'll remember how to do the same. As we step into the first chapter, imagine this. You wake up, and before the sun has even risen, your mind has already begun the battle. One thought triggers another, a breakup that hasn't happened, a job you might lose, a mistake that hasn't even been made, and suddenly your chest tightens. The heart races. The body reacts as if the disaster were already real. Yet nothing has actually happened. The enemy isn't out there. It's in here, inside the mind, creating storms out of shadows. We've all lived that moment, lying awake and rehearsing disasters that never arrive. The mind plays its cruel theater, and you become both the actor and the audience, suffering for a play that exists only in imagination. But the Stoics discovered a way to end this torture, not by denying fear, but by mastering it. They called it premeditation malo rum, the premeditation of evils. At first it sounds grim. Why think about things going wrong? But this is not pessimism. It is preparation. It's not about dwelling in fear. It's about walking through it before it reaches you. Seneca said, "He robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand." The Stoics understood that worry thrives on surprise. When you've already met hardship in your mind, it loses its power to terrify you in reality. Picture a Roman soldier at dawn. Before battle, he imagines defeat, pain, loss, not to suffer early, but to build calm early. He visualizes betrayal, insult, exhaustion, and accepts each one. By the time war finds him, he's already stood face to face with fear and made peace with it. That's why he moves with steady eyes while others tremble. You can do the same. Before walking into a meeting that makes your hands sweat, pause and ask, what's the worst that could happen, and how will I face it with strength and grace? Before making a big decision, whisper to yourself, if I lose everything, what remains within me? Before the day begins, take 2 quiet minutes to ask, what might test my patience today? Who might provoke me? And how will I respond? Like a Stoic, not a slave to emotion. This is not about expecting disaster. It's about removing its teeth. Because worry is the child of the unknown, and preparation is what kills its hunger. When you've walked through the darkness in your imagination, it no longer owns you. You become the one who chooses how to feel, how to act, how to stand. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He didn't prepare for comfort. He prepared for confrontation with the world, with people, with his own emotions. He wasn't waiting for peace to appear. He was training to become peace itself. Try it for yourself. Before your next challenge, close your eyes. Picture what could go wrong. See yourself meeting it with calm, not panic, with reason, not rage. Then open your eyes and say quietly, I am ready. There's a story of a craftsman who said, I carve the mistake before the wood makes it for me. That is the Stoic way. Prepare for life's rough edges before they cut you. Meet your fears early and they will shrink beneath you. Because peace isn't pretending bad things won't happen. It's preparing for them so they never rule you. And once you learn that worry loses its hold, you stop waiting for calm and you start creating it. Now, as we move forward, let's test this calm even deeper by learning the difference between what's truly in your control and what never was. Moving into the second chapter, picture this. You're sitting there replaying something that's already over. Maybe it's a conversation that went wrong, a message left unanswered, or a decision you wish you could reverse. You stare at your screen, checking, waiting, wishing. But nothing changes. The world moves on and you're still stuck inside the same loop, trying to control what was never yours to command. It's a strange kind of suffering, isn't it? To fight battles in places where your hands can't reach. We've all done it. We try to fix the weather with our worry. We hope our stress will rewrite the past. We think if we overthink hard enough, maybe the outcome will bend in our favor. But that's not how life works. The Stoics saw this trap clearly. They called it the illusion of control. And they built their freedom on escaping it. Epictetus, a man who was once a slave and later became one of the wisest teachers of his time, said something that split the world in two. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Simple words. But behind them lies the architecture of peace. To live like a Stoic is to divide life into two baskets. In one, you place the things you can command: your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your character. In the other, you drop everything else: other people's opinions, outcomes, the past, the future, even the weather. One basket belongs to you, the other doesn't. But here's where most of us fall. We spend our lives pouring our energy into the wrong basket. We try to control what others think of us, how the future unfolds, whether life will reward our efforts, and when it doesn't bend to our will, we call it unfair. But it's not unfair, it's ungovernable. You can't steer the wind, you can only adjust your sails. Let me give you something real. A friend once told me how he lost a promotion he had worked years for. He was furious, humiliated, restless. For weeks, he replayed every meeting, every word he'd said to his boss, searching for what he could have done differently. But the truth was, the decision was made. No amount of torment would change it. One night, after months of bitterness, he stumbled on a passage from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He read it again, then again. That night, he stopped fighting the ocean and started steering his own boat. Within a year, his peace returned, and with it, better work, better health, better sleep. That's the control test. The moment the mind starts to spin, you pause and ask, is this in my control? If the answer is no, drop it like a stone into deep water. Let it sink. Then ask, what is in my control right now, and act on that. Say someone insults you online. Can you control their words? No. Can you control your response, your tone, your calm? Absolutely. Say you didn't get the job you wanted. Can you control the final decision? No. Can you sharpen your skills, show up wiser next time? Yes. The line between chaos and peace is drawn right there in that single question. When you live this way, something powerful happens. You stop scattering your energy like broken glass. You become lean, focused, dangerous in your calm. Your mind starts to feel like a blade light, precise, unburdened. Most people spend their days throwing themselves at walls, but a Stoic builds windows instead. They don't fight the storm, they frame it. They don't curse the dark, they learn to move through it. That's why their strength feels quiet, yet immovable. And over time, worry begins to starve. It can't live without your attention. When you take that back, you take back your life. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. So remember this truth the next time the world tries to pull you into its chaos. Control your actions, not the world. Everything else is just noise. And from this stillness, we move forward to something even more subtle, yet just as powerful. Because once you stop trying to control the world, you must learn how to protect the one thing you truly can, your mind. Advancing to the third chapter, imagine waking up already restless though nothing bad has happened yet. The room is still, the sun barely risen, and yet your heart feels heavy. Not because of your own life, but because of what you've let in: news of tragedy, someone's anger online, another perfect photo that whispers you're falling behind. You didn't ask for this burden. It slipped in quietly through your screen, through a voice, through a story that wasn't even yours to carry. Most of your stress isn't born inside you, it's imported. You picked it up from a world that trades in chaos. Every scroll, every headline, every argument, each one plants a seed in the mind. And if you're not careful, those seeds grow into weeds. The Stoics understood this danger centuries ago. Seneca warned, associate with those who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. What he meant was simple: guard your influences. Choose what shapes your mind as carefully as you choose what enters your body. You can't feed your thoughts with noise and expect silence. You can't fill your heart with conflict and expect peace. What you allow in becomes you. Marcus Aurelius called the mind a fortress, strong if you keep the gates. But most of us have left the gates wide open. Anyone, anything, any algorithm can walk in, set up camp, and start commanding our emotions. Think about how much of your anxiety isn't actually yours. A celebrity's scandal, a friend's rant about politics, a stranger's highlight reel. You're absorbing fragments of other people's lives and confusing them with your own. And so your peace bleeds away, not because life attacked you, but because you stopped defending it. The Stoics were deliberate. They filtered the world. They didn't chase every voice, every rumor, every shadow of bad news. They understood that the mind, like a garden, must be tended. Seneca compared it to cultivation. If you allow weeds to grow unchecked, don't be surprised when the flowers die. So here's the habit: limit your inputs. Guard your mind like sacred ground. Unfollow those who feed your insecurity or anger. Step back from endless news cycles designed to keep you afraid. Give yourself permission to not know everything. Wisdom doesn't come from being plugged in, it comes from being grounded. I once knew a man who was addicted to outrage. Every morning before his coffee, he consumed it, scrolling through conflict opinions, disasters. He carried it all with him. You could see it in his posture, in his tone, in the way he snapped at small things. When I asked him why he kept reading things that made him miserable, he said, "I just want to stay informed." But information had become poison. The more he drank, the less alive he felt. Eventually, he decided to fast from noise. 10 minutes of news, no gossip, no endless scrolling. Within weeks, his calm returned, not because the world had changed, but because he had stopped carrying the whole world inside his head. Worry needs fuel. If you starve it, it dies. You don't need to react to every opinion. You don't need to absorb every tragedy. You don't need to carry pain that doesn't belong to you. A calm mind isn't an empty one. It's a protected one. Build a mental gate. With every piece of information, ask yourself, does this strengthen me or weaken me? If it weakens you, it doesn't deserve entry. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But what if your reactions are shaped by what you allow in? That's where the discipline begins, not in controlling the world, but in curating what you let the world do to your mind. Control the input, control the output, control your peace. Because the truth is, silence isn't ignorance, it's mastery, and from that silence reflection begins. Which leads us naturally into the next lesson, how to train the mind like a warrior through the quiet ritual of daily reflection. At this stage, imagine ending your day not with noise, but with stillness. The lights are low, the world quiets, and you finally have a moment alone with yourself. No screens, no scrolling, just silence. In that silence, a question rises, not from the outside world, but from within. How did I live today? This simple question was sacred to the Stoics. It was their nightly ritual, their mental cleansing before sleep. They didn't end their days drowning in regret or distraction. They faced themselves. Seneca wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said. It wasn't a confession, it was a conversation, a quiet reckoning between who he was and who he wished to be." Think about how few of us do that now. We rush from one day to the next, carrying yesterday's noise into tomorrow's mind. We bury our mistakes under entertainment, drown our doubts in endless scrolling, and then wonder why the heart never feels light. Worry grows in the dark corners of what we refuse to face. The Stoic instead lights a candle there. They sit with the day. They ask, did I act with courage today? Did I let someone else's chaos take my peace? Did I speak truth or ego? Did I live by my values or drift from them? These questions don't condemn, they clarify. They teach you where to stand stronger next time. Reflection isn't punishment, it's preparation. The Stoic doesn't review the day to judge themselves, they review it to train themselves. They know that the unexamined day becomes a repeated one. The same reactions, the same mistakes, the same pain recycled under new circumstances. But when you look back with honesty and calm, you break the cycle. You reprogram the mind. I remember an old craftsman I once met, quiet man, steady hands. Every night before he left his workshop, he'd run his fingers over the wood he shaped that day, feeling every smooth surface, every flaw. If I don't touch it, he said, I won't see what still needs work. That's reflection, not guilt, not shame. Awareness through touch, awareness through truth. You can do the same. Every night, give yourself 5 minutes of solitude. Sit down, ask 2 questions. What did I do well today? What can I do better tomorrow? Write it down if you can. Your journal becomes a mirror, a space where emotion turns into understanding. And if you had a bad day, don't run from it. Good. Now you know where to grow. The Stoic doesn't avoid discomfort. They transform it into discipline. Marcus Aurelius did this every night in his meditations. Those words we now read were never meant for us. They were his self-dialogue, his anchor against pride and fear. In the quiet, he met himself not as emperor, but as a man in progress. You can meet yourself that way too. Because the truth is, reflection builds armor. Each night you polish the shield of self-awareness so that when morning comes, chaos can strike, but it won't pierce through. You sleep with clarity, you wake with purpose, and slowly the mind stops spinning. Worry thrives when we avoid our own story. But when you face it, name it, and learn from it, fear dissolves. Reflection grounds you, and a grounded person cannot be easily shaken. So tonight, don't escape your thoughts. Sit with them. Let them teach you. The calm you seek tomorrow begins with the honesty you practice tonight. And from that stillness, we move deeper into a truth even harder to accept, yet more liberating than any of them, learning not only to accept fate, but to love it. From here, let's look at the quiet war we all fight, the one against reality itself. Think of the moments you've whispered, "This shouldn't have happened." The job that slipped away, the person who left without warning, the news that shattered what you thought was solid. You didn't want it. You didn't choose it. And so you fought it. You replayed it. You begged the universe for a different ending. But the truth remained. That's where worry begins resistance to what already is. The Stoics saw this as the root of human suffering, not pain itself, but our refusal to accept its presence. To them, peace came through a radical idea called amor fati, love of fate. Not tolerance, not resignation, love. To love fate is to treat every event not as punishment, but as purpose. It's to stop saying, "Why me?" and start asking, "Why not me?" Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not blocking your path, it is the path. The very thing you curse could be shaping the version of you that nothing can break. But how do you love something that hurts? The Stoics didn't pretend pain was pleasant. They simply refused to waste it. To them, hardship was material, raw iron to be forged into strength. Seneca said, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests brave men." So when fate strikes, the Stoic doesn't cry out in protest. They whisper, "Use this. You didn't choose that heartbreak. But maybe it was sent to teach you where your worth truly lies. You didn't choose that failure. But perhaps it's clearing space for humility and wisdom. You didn't choose that loss. But maybe it's carving you into someone capable of compassion and depth. Pain shapes you when you stop running from it. There's a story I once heard of a sailor who cursed the storm that wrecked his boat until he realized it had carried him to a new shore he'd never have reached otherwise. Fate works that way. It breaks your plan so it can reveal your path. So when something painful happens, pause, breathe. Say to yourself, amor fati. Then ask, how can this shape me? What can I learn here? How do I use this instead of letting it use me? The moment you ask that, you take your power back. You turn chaos into craft. You become the sculptor, not the statue. This is not blind optimism, it's wisdom. Life will hurt, but it will also heal if you let it. A person who learns to love fate becomes untouchable, not because the world grows kinder, but because they stop demanding it to be. So love the rain that cancels your plans. Love the delay that tests your patience. Love even the pain that humbles you. For each moment is your teacher, not your enemy. Because once you love fate, life stops feeling like an accident and starts feeling like art. And from that acceptance, we step into the next lesson, how to stop letting the future steal the only thing you truly own, this present moment. Entering the 6th chapter, let's face a truth we often ignore. Most of what keeps us awake at night hasn't even happened yet. You worry about getting sick, about losing your job, about someone walking away. You rehearse disasters that may never arrive. But if you stop and look around right now, this very moment, you're breathing, you're safe, you're here. The Stoics called this returning to the present. They saw it not as a soft idea, but as one of the greatest forms of strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He also said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it with the same weapons of reason that arm you today. Think about that the same strength you'll need tomorrow already exists within you right now." But worry convinces you it doesn't. Anxiety lives in imagination, not in reality. It's the mind wandering too far ahead or too far behind. The past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. Only the present belongs to you. But instead of living in it, we trade it away for what if. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if things fall apart? Yet here's the irony: while you live inside those questions, life itself slips quietly past you. Presence is not denial, it's precision. It's seeing that in this very breath there is no disaster. The roof hasn't fallen, the ground hasn't opened. The monster exists only in thought. When you return to the moment, you disarm it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this during war. Surrounded by uncertainty, he trained his mind to stay in the now. The sword he feared tomorrow, he would meet with the same courage he carried today. That's what presence is. It's a weapon, a spiritual one. It cuts through illusion. Here's how you build it. Whenever worry starts whispering, ask yourself, where am I right now? Am I here or lost in a place that doesn't exist? Feel the ground beneath your feet. Hear the faint hum of life around you. Feel the air enter and leave your lungs. These small anchors pull you back to where peace lives this moment. Build what I call micro moments of awareness. When you drink tea, taste it fully. When you walk, feel each step. When you speak, listen as if it's the first time you've ever heard another voice. These are not small things. They are doors. Doors that open to stillness. I once met a runner who used to panic before every race. His mind would spin with everything that could go wrong: the weather, the competition, the pain ahead. But one day, he tried something new. At the starting line, he looked down and whispered, "Right now, I'm just standing." Then, "Right now, I'm breathing." Step by step, he stayed with the moment in front of him. That race became the first one he ran without fear. Not because the challenge vanished, but because he stopped living in the future. That's the lesson. The more you live in the moment, the less space worry has to grow. Worry dies when it can't find time to live in. So, when fear returns, remind yourself, right now is enough. Because right now you are alive, and that's already power. And from this grounded calm, we move forward to the next paradox of strength. To stop fearing hardship, you must learn to choose it. Moving into the 7th chapter, imagine this: a storm is coming. The clouds are dark, the wind is sharp, and you can feel the weight of it in your chest. Most people run for cover, but a Stoic takes a step forward. Because the one who has practiced walking in the rain doesn't panic when the sky finally opens. This is the paradox of strength. The best way to stop fearing the future is to practice discomfort right now. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most respected Stoics, understood this better than anyone. Despite his fortune, he often slept on the floor, ate the plainest food, and wore rough clothes by choice. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?' Why would a man of such power choose to live like that? Because he knew the truth. If you can face voluntary hardship, involuntary hardship will never break you. Worry thrives in the unfamiliar. When pain catches you by surprise, it overwhelms you. But when you've already trained with it, when you've felt hunger, loss, rejection, fatigue, and still stood tall, it loses its power to control you. A Stoic doesn't chase pain, but they don't hide from it either. They prepare for it. Like a soldier sharpening his blade before the battle, they build endurance in peace so they don't crumble in chaos. Every moment of voluntary discomfort is a quiet rehearsal for life's storms. Here's how it looks in practice. Skip a meal and feel your strength without it. Take a cold shower and remember that discomfort is temporary. Wake early when the bed pulls you back in. Say no to small indulgences that weaken your will. Do the hard thing first before excuses appear. Each act may seem small, but each one whispers the same message: I am stronger than my comfort. Because the truth is, comfort deceives. It lulls the mind into fragility. It makes small problems feel enormous. When everything around you is easy, even the slightest challenge feels unbearable. But once you've lived without luxury, luxury no longer owns you. Once you've faced fear voluntarily, fear itself becomes familiar, and familiarity kills its sting. There's a story told about a young Stoic student who asked his teacher, "How do I stop fearing poverty?" The teacher replied, "Live as the poor do for a week. Eat simple food. Sleep on the ground. When the week ends, ask yourself, is this what I feared?" The student did it, and when he returned, he was no longer afraid. He had seen that his survival didn't depend on comfort. His strength did. The deeper beauty of this practice is freedom. When you stop chasing comfort, you stop fearing discomfort. You realize that most of what you called security was just dependency. And once that illusion falls, nothing outside of you can threaten your peace. A Stoic doesn't build a life free of problems. They build a mind that can face any problem. They don't pray for softer winds, they strengthen their sails. Because hardship will come, that is certain. But when it does, the one who has trained for it meets it calmly like an old friend they've already known. So disrupt your comfort. Step outside the warm circle of what's easy. Choose small challenges now so that when big ones arrive, you greet them without trembling. The world belongs to those who have mastered their nerves in stillness. And remember this, when life's storm begins, you will not be swept away because you have already walked through the rain. From here, we step into the final lesson, the one that anchors every Stoic teaching. To live beyond fear and chaos, you must align your life not with outcomes, but with virtue itself. Entering the 8th and final chapter, we come to the quiet truth that ends every storm, the one most people overlook. We spend our lives chasing results, success, approval, validation, and then wonder why peace never stays. We ask questions that keep us in chains. Will this work? Will they like me? What if I fail? We measure worth by outcomes we can't control, and that's why anxiety always finds a way back in. But the Stoics saw through this illusion long ago. They said the goal isn't to look successful, it's to be honorable. The aim isn't to control outcomes, it's to control the self. Epictetus put it simply, do not demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. In other words, peace comes not from bending the world to your will, but from aligning your will with what is right. The Stoic life is not about winning. It's about living well. When you choose virtue, honesty, courage, discipline, kindness, you've already succeeded. You don't need an audience for that. You don't need applause, because what you gain can't be taken away. Fame fades, money burns, opinions shift like weather, but virtue, it outlasts every storm. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth as Emperor of Rome, carrying the weight of nations and betrayal on his back. Yet every night he reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Simple but ruthless in its honesty. Imagine the strength it takes to live that way when you have the power to do anything and still choose what is right over what is easy. That's real power. That's self-mastery. Worry is the shadow that follows those who chase what's uncertain. But when your compass is virtue, you no longer need to predict the future. You just need to act rightly in the present. You don't control how people see you. You don't control the outcome. You only control your choices, and that's enough. Think about this. When was the last time you lost sleep over something that didn't even violate your principles, only your pride? The truth is, peace is not stolen from us. We trade it. We trade it every time we act against what we know is right, just to look good or win favor. Every time we lie a little, bend a rule, or betray a promise to please someone. The result might bring short applause, but deep down, something fractures, and that fracture becomes worry. Let me tell you a story. A merchant once faced ruin when his ship sank in a storm. Everything he owned was gone. Yet when his friends came to console him, they found him calm, even smiling. "Do you not mourn the loss?" they asked. He replied, "I lost my fortune, not my character. The sea took what was never mine to keep." That's the Stoic way. To value integrity over possession, to build on what can't be washed away. Living by virtue doesn't mean you won't fail. It means you'll never fail yourself. You can lose the deal, lose the relationship, lose the crown, and still stand unbroken, because your peace doesn't come from what you hold, but from how you hold yourself. Before you act, ask yourself one question: is this right? Not will I win or will they like me? Just, is this right? Before you take a risk, don't ask, will I look foolish if I fail? Ask, will I grow regardless of how it ends? And when you worry about how others see you, stop and ask, did I act with integrity? If the answer is yes, then you've already won the only battle that matters. This is the final mastery of the Stoic mind, to replace the obsession with outcomes with devotion to principles, to trade fear for integrity, to let virtue, not vanity, guide your path. Because when your soul is clean, your sleep is deep. When your heart is aligned, your mind is still. And in that stillness, you discover something profound. Life's peace was never waiting at the end of success. It was waiting at the end of honesty. The Stoics were not chasing comfort or applause. They were building character. They didn't want to be stars. They wanted to be steady. They wanted to walk through life like mountains, silent, grounded, unshaken. And that is where true peace lives. You can't always control how life ends, but you can always control how you live it. So shift your gaze from attention to authenticity, from outcome to effort, from fear to virtue. Because nothing can disturb a person who knows they have lived with honor. And when the night is quiet and the mind is still, that's when you'll feel it, the deep, unbreakable calm of a life lived rightly. That's not luck. That's Stoic peace. That's freedom. That's you finally becoming untouchable. Worry quietly steals your peace. It begins as a whisper, then grows into a storm that clouds your mind and drains your strength. But the Stoics knew something timeless. You may not control what happens around you, yet you can always master what happens within you. That is where true freedom begins. You are not here to be shaken by every fear or to chase every outcome. You are here to master yourself, to remain calm while others panic, to stay grounded when life tests your balance. This is the essence of Stoicism: power through stillness, strength through awareness, peace through control of the self. The storms of life will come and go, but when your mind is trained, they will no longer move you. You will stand in the middle of chaos with quiet confidence, knowing your calm is your armor. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe and continue walking this path of strength and clarity. And in the comments write, "Calm within," to remind yourself of the peace you are building. Keep going. The next lesson will guide you deeper into the art of unshakable stillness. The storms may roar, but you will remain steady, silent, and free.